Chapter 21 Shortcuts in Life. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Lin Pingji has already married into my Lu family as a son-in-law, and this matter has been decided. What? Hearing the voice, not to mention Lu Yuan's shock, even the person who was talking to the prefect Lu Yunqi was not surprised. Google search TWKN. Sir Lu, is this matter too hasty? How can his Lin family afford your family? My daughter likes it, and the Lin family is willing. Is this reason enough? Lu Yunqi was very impolite. Lord Lu, right now is a critical moment for the Lin family. Have you ever thought that this is their delaying tactic? If they regret it later. What do you mean? Are you saying that no one wants my daughter? I dare not. I just want to remind Lord Lu not to be deceived by the Lin family. They are not sincere. Such a hasty engagement may hinder the happiness of the couple in the future. It doesn't matter. I have promised the Lin family that the second son will be named Lin. Ah, this. Lord Lu, you really make it difficult for us. What's so difficult? These are some dirty things. I will ask the Lin family to take out the evil defeating sword manual, and you can go to the rivers and lakes to pick a new family to cause trouble. But. No buts, let's go, I can't keep you here. That the conversation ended immediately. Lu Yuan and Lu Hua covered the tiles and hid again. Then they saw two figures in black clothes leaving the study and climbing over the wall. Lu Yuan was just about to take Lu Hua to see what was going on, but when he glanced at it, he saw another scene that made him unable to look away. In the moonlit garden, a pair of young lovers walked side by side. They seemed to be exchanging love words. The man was graceful and elegant. He was Lin Pingji, who had been kneeling in the court during the day. The woman had a plump figure and lowered her head shyly. From time to time, she stole a glance at her lover beside her, and then lowered her head shyly. The two of them talked slowly, following the blue brick path, and when they arrived in front of the round gate of the courtyard, a slightly embarrassing scene appeared. The two people walking side by side could not pass directly horizontally. Lu Yuan clearly saw that Lin Pingji closed his eyes in pain, and when he opened them again, he had a stiff smile, and raised his hand to politely signal the other party to go first. The woman nodded shyly, passed through the door first, and then looked at Lin Pingji expectantly. At that moment, Lin Pingji seemed to laugh tears under the moonlight. And he took that step as if he was going to die. Such a scene made Lu Yuan shudder inexplicably. Lu Hua, who was standing beside him, almost laughed out of tears. This Lin Pingji, is it really so exaggerated? Ah, it's not exaggerated, think about it. Hua, he was so glorious before, but now he has to succumb to the fat sister of your family for the sake of his family's survival. Such a huge gap. Tut. I can only say that Lin Xiaobiadu has grown up and found a shortcut in life. Shortcut? If you were replaced by Lin Pingji, would you agree? Lu Hua suddenly asked at this time. Of course. Lu Yuan was about to affirm, but when he saw that Lu Hua's expression was not right, he immediately made up for it. Of course, it would be best if Hua was replaced, and I would agree happily. Lu Hua was stunned, and then she hit Lu Yuan in shame and anger, but the corner of her mouth could not be suppressed. She wanted to scold Lu Yuan for being shameless, but she was pulled by Lu Yuan, and at this moment, a man in black just jumped onto the roof and looked at them. Both parties were wearing black clothes and masks, and those who didn't know the situation probably thought they were accomplices. The black-clothed man was obviously stunned, but after he reacted, he flew back without saying a word. Lu Yuan was curious about who this man was, so he followed him with Lu Hua. The three of them used the roof to gain momentum and quickly moved away from the prefect's residence. On the way, Lu Yuan calmly observed the other party's skills. In terms of lightness skills alone, he was the best one he had met since he entered the martial arts world. Of course, compared with him and Lu Hua, he was still far behind. After chasing for a distance, the black-clothed man in front seemed to find that he couldn't get rid of the two behind him. He drew out his long sword neatly and was about to fight back. Lu Yuan raised his hand and shot a stone. The man paused and quickly raised his sword to block, but then 3 more stones were shot in succession. forcing the other party to dodge and block on the spot. As if he found it interesting, Yuan kept throwing stones in his hand, forcing the other party to start rushing left and right, which gradually made him see something. Yuan thought about it, and suddenly changed his gestures, throwing a stone with much greater force than before. The man in black couldn't dodge, so he could only hold the sword in one hand and the blade in the other to block it. With a clang, the long sword broke directly, and a strong force knocked the man in black into the resident below. There was a burst of noise and screams. The man in black hurriedly climbed out of the broken bricks and tiles, and fled in panic without taking a breath. However, when he ran 100 meters and looked back, he found that he had lost the trace of the two behind him. He breathed a sigh of relief and rubbed his stuffy chest. He was somewhat glad that the other party had just used a stone, which had been shattered when it broke the long sword. Otherwise, with such a force, he would be seriously injured if not dead. Of course, after being glad, there was doubt and fear. Who is the other party? When did such a strong man appear in the world of martial arts? Could it be the one on the Blackwood Cliff? If he is also interested in the sword manual of exorcism, then it will be troublesome. On the other side, on the way back to the inn, Yuan was in a good mood. What's wrong? You seem to be very happy since you met that person just now. Is it obvious? What do you think? If I'm happy, I am a little bit, because I found that I seem to underestimate my strength before, so I can act bolder in the future. Hearing this, Lu Hua immediately reacted. Listen to what you mean. Do you know who that person was just now? Hey, when that man split my stone, although he deliberately concealed it, he still showed some of his secrets in his haste. Although I have never seen that kind of swordsmanship, but it is characterized by the word strange and dangerous. I've heard that that sect has a good legacy, but it's a pity that his sword is too rigid and loses its essence. After hearing what Yuan said, Lu Hua also made a guess. Excluding the Xiangjiang sect, the only forces that come to Fuzhou City are Xuanhuan and Huashan, and that man is obviously not taller than Yuan, so he is from the Huashan sect. Disciple, is he the other protagonist you mentioned? Yuan shook his head and corrected. It's his master, the head of the Huashan sect, a gentleman with a sword like no other. Lu Hua was a little stunned. Master? So weak? Don't say this out loud, it will cause hatred. TCH, it's already weak. What's more, it's called a gentleman's sword. How can there be a gentleman who climbs the bridge in the middle of the night? The gentleman in Liangshang is a thief, and he is not wrong in calling him a thief. Why didn't you capture him and torture him for the secret book? No rush, there is still a chance. If we attack him now, I'm afraid it will have a big impact on the subsequent story and make it inconvenient for us to act. The next day, early in the morning, the Fuwei escort case was reopened for trial. This time the Lin family became one of their own, and Lu Yinchi judged it very quickly. Since people on both sides were dead and the evidence was insufficient, the big issue was reduced to a trivial matter. In addition, after being told in a subtle way that Lin Pingji was now the son-in-law of the prefect Lu Yinchi, Xuanhuan was so angry that he almost jumped over the wall. Fortunately, the Lin family made a move that caused an uproar in the world. They actually took the initiative to hand over the evil sword manual to Xuanhuan as a sign of reconciliation. During the whole process, Lin Zhennan, accompanied by the government officials, personally took Xuanhuan to the old house in Xianjiang township and took out the old cassock, not to mention Xuanhuan's wonderful expression when he saw the contents of the cheat book. The fact that the Lin family presented the sword manual in public was definitely a big event for the entire world. Lao Lin's actions naturally meant to divert trouble to the east. Xuanhuan also understood this. After the whole city knew incident, the Xiangjiang sect could no longer hide it, so he could only hold his nose and admit it. After Xuanhuan took the people away, the relationship between the Lin family and the prefect Lu family was also exposed. This only made some people want to attack the Lin family. Just when everyone thought that the Fuwei escort incident was over, late at night, Lin Zhennan's family returned to the escort agency and was raided again. Cries of death and screams resounded in the night escort agency. Lin Zhennan heard the sound and rushed out with a sword. At a glance, he saw 4 disciples wearing Xiangjiang sect uniforms, massacring his confidants in the courtyard. Lao Lin's eyes instantly turned red. Xiangjiang sect, you guys are going too far. Chapter 22 The Dark Hand Behind the Scenes. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. Lao Lin shouted angrily and charged into the crowd with his sword. When the surrounding Qingqing sect disciples saw the intruder, two of them decisively gave up their goal and went straight to Lao Lin. If it were before, with Lin Jiannan's second-rate level, he would naturally not be able to cope with the offensive of these two people, but things are different now. Lao Lin's evil fighting swordsmanship changed from the previous showy style to become swift and sinister, with just two long sword collisions. Old Lin left a wound on one person. Writing this, I hope readers will remember our domain name Taiwan Novel Network. The two people who were flanked looked at each other, and they could see the shock in each other's eyes. After checking their eyes, they immediately reached a consensus. Lin Jiannan had practiced evil fighting swordsmanship. Those who are dishonest go to hell. The emotions Lao Lin had accumulated over the past 2 days completely exploded at this moment. I saw him stabbing left and right with a sword. The pressure on the two Qingqing sect disciples suddenly increased greatly, and they began to get bloody wounds on their bodies. They quickly called for help. Come and help. That the other two heard the sound and gave up their opponents one after another and entered the battlefield. The scene immediately turned into a 4-on-1 situation. Other sword techniques may be limited by this, but the main focus of evil sword is fast. This kind of high-speed straight-line burst of sword moves rarely stays in one position for too long. The encirclement of the four people was difficult to form. Every time they wanted to change the target of attack, they would be stopped by Lao Lin brutally. Mrs. Lin and the injured escorts around wanted to help, but they couldn't get involved in this situation, so they had to seize the opportunity to harass. The battle reached a stalemate for a while, and Lin Pingji was both excited and nervous to see his father so brave. Now he can confirm that the exorcist sword is authentic. The fact that his father has such strength is the best proof. Sir, Mr. Liu has been notified of this matter. Hold on, the government officials will be here soon. Mrs. Lin suddenly rushed to the venue and shouted. Lin Pingji's eyes flashed with doubts. If his mother was by his side, when would he notify Mr. Liu? But after looking at the battle in the field, he reacted. The four Qingqing faction members were obviously anxious when they heard the sound. Lao Lin's eyes became fierce and he seized the opportunity to kill one of them with a sword through his chest. Of course, he himself was stabbed with a sword and wounded in the waist. Mrs. Lin held the golden knife and almost rushed in uncontrollably. Fortunately, the internal power cultivated by the evil warding divine sword has a stimulating function, and Lao Lin's power was not reduced at all after being hit by the sword in his waist. The remaining three people realized that there was no chance of success in tonight's plan and decisively chose to evacuate. Lao Lin chased him all the way to the door, but was stopped by a series of hidden weapons. Watching the three of them go away, he shouted into the dark night. "You Canghai, Lin, have recorded this grudge." That it wasn't until he couldn't see anyone anymore that the madness in his eyes was replaced by thoughts. On the eaves, Lu Yuan looked away and looked at the other three Qingqing sect disciples who were escaping. With a sway, he and Lu Huar chased after them. This time, Lu Yuan had no intention of playing tricks. He used a lot of lightness on his feet, and his body was as fast as the wind. In just a few breaths, he caught up with the three of them. Without giving the opponent a chance to strike first, the three iron beads shot out rapidly, breaking the sword and causing internal injuries. The three people spurted blood and fell straight down the eaves. "Damn it, who are you, still giving in the middle of the night?" Woo-woo. Someone in the room was obviously covered. Lu Yuan glanced at the closed door and window in a funny way, and then returned to the ground. "Your Excellency, who is Your Excellency?" One of the Qingqing sect disciples asked a difficult question. Lu Yuan didn't want to be tortured in this residential area. Seeing the number of them, 3 was too many. He smiled and pointed in the direction behind the 3 of them. They looked subconsciously. At this moment, whoosh whoosh. 3 more stones flew out. 2 of them were directly hit in the head, and the last one was knocked unconscious. Lu Yuan then flew forward. After a brief inspection, he patted the unconscious man twice. Only then did he mention that person with confidence and leave. Lu Huar followed behind. She was already used to the shameless behavior just now. The 3 of them came to a claustrophobic alley. Lu Yuan threw the person against the wall, raised his hand and waved it across the opponent's shunting point, awakening the opponent's consciousness, and forcefully awakened the opponent. When the other party opened his eyes and was confused, Lu Yuan's voice suddenly became unreal. "Look at me." As soon as this voice came out, not to mention the Qingqing sect disciple in front of him, even Lu Huar couldn't help but look at him. How can I describe that feeling? It was like hearing my parents calling me on my way home from school. It will make people turn around and look at them without warning. Lu Yuan raised his hand to cover Lu Huar's sight. His pupils seemed to be shining in the dark night. The man looked at her, his eyes blank for a moment. Lu Yuan took the time to ask, "Tell me your identity." The man was stunned for a moment, then he stumbled and said, "Jinui, Xiaoqi, Duyun Tao. Why did you pretend to be the Qingqing faction and break into Fuwei escort agency?" "I was ordered to kill Lin Zhenan and his wife and blame the Qingqing faction." "Why do this?" Faced with this problem, the other party was obviously stuck, as if he couldn't understand. Lu Yuan was slightly dissatisfied and had to ask again, "Why did you kill Lin Zhenan and his wife and frame the Qingqing faction?" "Forcing Lin Pingji to practice the evil sword technique and take revenge." "Why did you force Lin Pingji to practice the sword manual of exorcism?" "Revenge, provoke, fighting in the martial arts world." Lu Yuan understood and continued to ask, "How many Jinui are there who are provoking fights in the martial arts world like you?" "I don't know." "Did you deliberately spread the sunflower manual back then?" "I don't know." "After solving the matter of Fuwei escort agency, what other tasks do you have?" "I don't know." Lu Yuan curled his lips and landed a palm on the other person's forehead. The man's body shook, bleeding from all 7 orifices on the spot, and he fell to the ground and died. "It seems that the imperial court is the black hand behind the martial arts world, just as we thought." "Let's go." Lu Huar followed and asked, "From what you said, you suspect that the sunflower manual was deliberately released by the imperial court to cause chaos in the martial arts world?" "Just a guess." Lu Yuan propped himself up. "The drama in Fuzhou City is almost over, and we should change places." "Where are we going next?" "Hengshan, Hunan. There will be a meeting to wash hands, and the inherited swordsmanship of the Hengshan school." "Hey, Huar is worthy of understanding me." The two walked out of the alley and gradually sank into the darkness, at the same time, on the Minjiang River. "Fuck you, which son of a bitch is chiseling your grandfather's boat? Come out." Xuanhuan was standing on the leaking boat at this moment, cursing angrily. However, not only did the enemy not appear, but a fire broke out in the cabin. Some disciples had no choice but to jump into the river. Xuanhuan stared with a pair of triangular eyes, looking for the murderer in the chaotic scene, until his eyes were choked with tears and he coughed, and then a cold light pierced out from the corner. This angle was extremely tricky, and the long sword approached Xuanhuan's chest. Directly, Xuanhuan's hair stood on end, and he leaned back with all his strength to avoid it, but his chest was still cut by the long sword. Fortunately, it was only a flesh injury, but the red cassock on his back fell off. The man in black grabbed it and kicked his feet to retreat. Die! Xuanhuan's angry sword was forcibly blocked by the man in black. The two long swords rubbed a string of sparks in the air, but then Xuanhuan's body was like a tiger pounce, and he gathered his strength to pierce the sword from bottom to top, and went straight to the chest of the man in black. The man in black didn't expect the other party to be so desperate, and in a hurry, he could only raise his palm to meet it. Bang! A muffled sound exploded between his palms. The man in black shook his body, took advantage of the momentum to jump off the boat, fell into the river and disappeared. On the boat with flickering flames, only Xuanhuan's exasperated voice remained. "Find him for me, son of a bitch." Chapter 23 Hengshan City. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. On the third day after Lu Yuan and his team left, 6 plainclothes officers in black shirts appeared in Fuzhou City. First, they entered the home of the prefect Lu Yinqi, and then went to many places in the city to collect evidence and investigate. Finally, the leading man looked at the information and said in a deep voice, "Our action plan outside may have been exposed. Send this message back and ask if there are similar incidents in the rivers and lakes recently. The person behind this trouble is extraordinary and must be found as soon as possible." "Yes." A man next to him bowed. When the Jinui was fully mobilized, Lu Yuan and the others had already seen the shadow of Hengshan City, Taiwan Novel Network Diamond Suit. Diamond Suit, from Fuzhou City to Hengshan City, the straight line distance is more than 600 kilometers. On the way, Lu Yuan and Lu Huar spent almost 2 hours a day using Qinggong to travel. Fortunately, there was no urgent matter, otherwise the dishes would be cold by the time they arrived. After a short rest, the two disguised themselves and put on makeup again. This time, Lu Yuan transformed into an old man, and Lu Huar transformed into a grandmother. The two entered the city smoothly. With Fuzhou City first, they could clearly feel that the people here were dressed more simply, but this did not affect the mental outlook of the people in Hengshan City, especially the little kids who gathered to play. They sang ballads while running and playing. Washing hands in a golden basin, sheep fall into the tiger's mouth, family is broken, demons walk around. Lu Yuan and Lu Huar looked at each other. What's going on? Even the little kids know that there will be trouble if you wash your hands in a golden basin this time. Lu Huar was puzzled. On the way here, Lu Yuan had roughly told her about the incident. In short, it was Lu Jingfeng of Hengshan School and Chu Yang of Sun and Moon sect. The two became acquainted because they loved music. After deep friendship, they became confidants of each other, but because they belonged to the two sects of good and evil, they did not want to be burdened by the secular world anymore. Lu Jingfeng invited all the sects in the martial arts world to witness his story of washing hands in a golden basin and retiring from the martial arts world. This involves the Xuanhuan sect. They wanted to unify the 5 mountain sword sects, but they were originally unable to push forward. Just when this happened, they planned to make a fuss about Lu Jingfeng's collusion with the demon sect, in front of many sects, to prevent him from retiring, and force him to kill Chu Yang with righteousness. Doing so can not only establish the prestige of the Xuanhuan sect, but also be an attempt to forcibly intervene in the affairs of other sects, which is the first step in opening the Unify the 5 Mountains plan. The overall plan is very good, but what happened when they heard a song? With strong suggestive meaning when they entered the city? Lu Huar immediately wanted to stop a child and ask about the origin of the ballad, but she was stopped by Lu Yuan. No need, it won't affect our plan. And since the other party will let the children help, they won't leave any clues. It is estimated that other sects that enter the city later will also hear the song. Are you going to remind everyone? Lu Yuan smiled and stepped forward. Then do you think other sects will believe it after hearing it? Lu Huar thought for a while. It shouldn't be, after all, this is just a retreat. Yes, I guess Lu Jingfeng himself doesn't believe it, but when this incident really happens, what will other sects think of this song again? How will they react? They will think that someone is kind and uses this method to tip off. What else? Expand your perspective and look at this matter from a global perspective. Lu Yuan reminded. Lu Huar lowered her brows and thought. Her mind gradually opened up, and she said uncertainly, it feels a bit like first suppressing and then praising. At first, people don't believe it, but then it really happens. This contrast directly highlights the Xuanhuan sect, which will make other sects subconsciously guard against it, and naturally put the Xuanhuan sect on the opposite side. Yes, do you think this method is familiar? You mean, it's the handiwork of the court again? Lu Huar had just finished asking, and she was sure, that's right. It must be the court behind the scenes. What a despicable method, setting up hostility, dividing and consuming. No wonder you said that the martial arts world is gradually in danger. The imperial court is only one of the reasons. The chaotic order of the martial arts world itself is also the root cause of its defeat. The big and small sects fight each other and target each other. Countless geniuses have fallen in meaningless battles. Then how about we unify the martial arts world? Lu Yuan smiled lazily and looked at the girl with grandma makeup next to him. If you have this idea, I can help you. Lu Huar waved her hand quickly. Forget it, I prefer the peaceful years. I am annoyed by thinking about that kind of thing. While the two were talking, they had already arrived at a restaurant called Huiyan Tower. The whole building is built along the river, simple and majestic. Through the windows on the second floor, you can see the Xiangjiang river flowing below. Since we have discovered it, shouldn't we do something? Make things difficult for those Jinyui. While waiting for the dishes to be served, Lu Huar asked in a low voice. Don't worry, there will be a chance. He gestured to the stairs. Lu Huar looked over and saw a wretched man forcibly dragging a little nun upstairs to eat. Let's not talk about the wretched man, the little nun's appearance is really amazing, with a plump figure. Even the wide nun's robe can't hide the trembling when she goes upstairs. Lu Huar instantly felt the crisis and squinted at Lu Yuan. Lu Yuan signaled the other party to be patient, and soon, another ruffian youth bumped into the little nun like a drunk. The young man showed his face, and it was Ling Hu Chong who had met once in Fuzhou City. When the two met, their identities were revealed. The wretched man was the notorious flower thief Tian Buguang, and the water-smart nun next to him was named Yilan, who was from Hengshan school and was now captured by Tian Buguang. The next thing happened just like in the original novel of the smiling, proud wanderer. Ling Hu Chong belittled the little nun in various ways, hoping that Tian Buguang would give up, but Tian Buguang didn't buy it at all, and the little nun next to him was made to feel aggrieved and pitiful, seeing that his plan failed. Ling Hu Chong decisively changed his mind and started to drink and argue with the other party. However, before he had drunk a few glasses of wine, a Taishan sect disciple had already drawn his sword in anger. Unfortunately, he was a supporting role and was killed by Tian Buguang with a few swords. The crowd began to panic, and Lu Yuan also took Lu Huar downstairs. They came to a herbal tea stall outside the inn, where they could see the fight on the second floor. Ling Hu Chong was no match for the other party in terms of hard power, so he had to bet with the other party to sit and fight. Whoever stood up first would lose. He thought of dragging Tian Buguang to the spot and letting Yi Lin take the opportunity to escape, but Yi Lin didn't want to, and Ling Hu Chong was beaten to the ground. Tian Buguang thought he had won and stood up proudly, but Ling Hu Chong still had a piece of bench under his butt. Thus, Tian Buguang lost like a child's play. Lu Yuan and the others watched the whole process and felt somewhat bored, but not without meaning. They chose this place just to confirm the timeline. Since the incident in the restaurant has already happened, it means that the major sects are not far away. At this time, the head of Hengshan sect, Mr. Imoda, must have left the sect and is in Hengshan City. This is good, and it is more convenient for Lu Yuan to act. After getting up and paying the bill, Lu Yuan and the others set out from the west gate and walked 20 miles all the way to the foot of Hengshan Mountain. Without hesitation, they flew through the treetops, with the branches and leaves of the trees covering their figures. A group of red-walled and blue brick buildings came into their sight in a moment. Chapter 24 Big Harvest. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Countless times of stealth experience made the two of them very familiar with the action. First, they landed on a nearby rooftop to quickly scan the environment, and then stepped on the eaves tiles to change their positions. Since the deduction of the art of confusion, that is, the technique with the ability to confuse the mind, the process of Lu Yuan and the others sneaking in and searching has become much easier. Behind a certain hall, they found a lazy disciple and knocked him out. Lu Yuan was skilled in the preparation. While the other party was about to wake up, he controlled his mind and quickly obtained useful information from the other party, such as the composition of the sect, the distribution of the halls, the masters in the sect, and the rumors of martial arts. When the disciple woke up in a daze, Lu Yuan and the others had already left. He thought that he was lazy and fell asleep accidentally, and he didn't remember what had just happened. Taiwan Novel Network. After learning the inside information, Lu Yuan took Lu Huar to avoid the disciples and went straight to the headmaster's residence. It was an extremely ordinary courtyard. I don't know whether it wanted to deliberately downplay the specialness of this place or to be confident in its own arrangements. There was not even a disciple guarding the door. Lu Yuan observed for a while, came to the door, took out the wire from his bag, and easily poked the lock. The door was pushed open with a creak. The extremely simple furnishings inside were revealed, with only a bed, a wooden table, a wardrobe, a arrow, and a bookshelf. I just learned from the disciple that Hengshan sect did not have a place like the Sutra Pavilion. All martial arts were passed down by the master and uncle. This made Lu Yuan immediately lock the target and ask about the residence of the former headmaster and the current headmaster. As he thought, it was in the same location. He came straight here. After searching the house with Lu Huar for a week, no matter in the closet, bookshelf, or under the bed, there was nothing found, and no hidden mechanism. This situation is not new. Lu Yuan immediately took out the dagger from his bag and began to knock gently in various places in the room. This is a technique of locating by sound, mainly used to explore the mechanism under the tomb. He learned it from a family of tomb robbers. It didn't take long before a special echo made Lu Yuan's eyes show joy. He came to the bookshelf and gently moved it away. There were 2 rows of blue bricks below. From the gaps between the bricks and stones, it can be seen that it is different from the surroundings, and there are even traces of the dagger sliding. Lu Yuan knocked around the blue bricks a few more times. After confirming that there were no extra mechanisms, he attached his internal force to his hands and sucked upwards. The 2 rows of blue bricks were neatly opened, revealing an old wooden box below. Easily opened the copper lock on the wooden box, and there were some yellowed books inside, a total of 15 volumes. It includes sword techniques, boxing techniques, qigong, internal skills, and a history of the sect. Lu Yuan took them all out and began to read them in shorthand. There are 7 sword techniques, including the more famous Hengshan 5 divine swords, 100 changes and 1000 illusions, clouds and mist, 13 styles, and returning wind and falling wild goose sword, and the remaining 4 are mainland products. Here I would like to mention that Lu Yuan's classification of the quality of secret books is currently only 3 types: common goods, above common goods, and fine products. There are 2 boxing secret books, Blue Sky Embracing the Sun and the Moon, and Hengshan Flowing Cloud Fist, of which the former is considered a fine product, and the latter is just above mainland products. There are 3 qigong, Wild Goose Returning Step, Wind Ling Step and Cloud Hidden Stepping Wind, all of which are above mainland products. There are 2 kinds of internal skills, Hengyue Heart Method and Yunin True Qi. The former is considered the core internal skill of Hengshan school. It feels ordinary and cannot reach the level of fine products. The latter is a fragment. According to what is written, the internal force cultivated is extremely pure, like the clouds and mists of Hengshan Mountain, which can completely hide its own fluctuations when practicing. When attacking, the internal force is added, which makes it difficult for the opponent to judge the strength. If it is not incomplete, it can reach the level of fine products. The last book of the history of the sect is not mentioned. It took Lu Yuan half an hour to read it all. After everything was restored and sorted out, he took Lu Huar away. The 2 of them did not go down the mountain directly, but found a hidden place in the forest. Lu Huar watched on the side, and Lu Yuan sat cross-legged on a huge rock. He was sorting out what he had just gained. First, there were 7 sword techniques, and the essence was quickly extracted and integrated into himself. For example, he optimized and absorbed the most outstanding sword moves such as Spring Sounds Lotus, Crane Soaring Purple Cover, Stone Lin Book Sound, Heavenly Pillar Clouds, and Wild Goose Returning Jerome. The strange way of combining magic tricks in 100 changes and thousands of illusions, clouds and mists, 13 styles gave him a lot of ideas. Then, with the help of what he had just gained, he improved his sword art so that every move and style in the swordsmanship had more characteristics of virtual and real changes and strange and tricky. The same is true for subsequent light skills, boxing, and internal skills. He only looks at ideas and thoughts. He will not learn those similar famous killer moves, because often after watching them, he can deduce better ones. The biggest gain this time is that he learned fist momentum from Hengshan Luyan Fist and thus understood the borrowing momentum technique. What is fist momentum? As we all know, ordinary boxing consists of strength and moves. Among them, strength includes internal strength and muscle strength, and fist momentum adds spirit on the basis of strength and moves. It sounds a bit mysterious, but it is actually just the resonance between the spirit and the surrounding environment. To give a simple example, when a person is calm, he will find that the melon field and plum trees are so pleasant, and she sits there, everything is so harmonious. But if that person is in a bad mood, no matter how she pretends, she will give people a feeling of being out of place at first glance. Boxing momentum is an extension of this feeling. It is recorded in Hengshan Luyan Fist that when the predecessor created this boxing method, he had lived in Hengshan for 40 years, and he could feel all the changes here with his eyes closed. He kept trying and exploring, and finally integrated that feeling into the boxing method, and finally there was this Hengshan Luyan Fist. It is written in the article that after practicing, the boxing method returns to its original simplicity. Harmony and nature, and can greatly enhance the power by taking advantage of the momentum of Hengshan to suppress all enemies. Such a powerful boxing method, why no one has a reputation in the future, and the reason is also very simple, because it is difficult for later generations to resonate with the environment of Hengshan. Even if there is a disciple like that, and he finally learns boxing, once he leaves Hengshan, the surrounding environment changes, it is difficult to find the resonance feeling again, and naturally he can no longer have the boxing momentum. To put it bluntly, this is a thing that depends on understanding, and it should not even appear in the period of Xiaoao, pushing back a few hundred years. Xiao Feng sound, cough, subduing dragon momentum, Zhang Laodao's Tai Chi momentum, are all the same. Some martial arts can only play a unique effect in the hands of specific people, and it just so happens that Lu Yuan is this specific person, even more exaggerated. His heaven-defying understanding allows him to easily feel the pulse of all things without worrying about the weather and the place. In his gestures, as long as he wants, he can be in harmony. In the Taoist scriptures, some people also call this state the unity of man and nature, but Lu Yuan knows very well that he is not yet, or should be said to be not thorough enough. He can sense in the dark that it is an illusion, that he is unworthy of this world, just like Chinese martial arts cannot make further progress after reaching the state of Huajin. Lu Yuan has some guesses about this, but unfortunately they cannot be verified in a short time. However, fist momentum finally opened a window for him, allowing his martial arts to enter a new field. Lu Yuan sat for more than an hour, and he made a significant upgrade to his martial arts. Changxing Gong has been updated to version 6.3, and the internal force has added the function of changing and hiding. At the same time, it can speed up the practice of internal strength by borrowing momentum from the surrounding environment. Kendo has been updated to version 4.0, and the sword moves have more characteristics of virtual and real changes and strange and tricky, and the borrowing momentum skills are integrated, that is, the momentum of mountains, the momentum of the earth, the momentum of the breeze and flowing clouds, etc. Wu Jian has been updated to version 3.7, and there are also more borrowing momentum skills between the moves. Qingdong Teiyunyu has been updated to version 4.9, with daily optimization and integration of borrowing momentum. Chapter 25 Looking for Someone. You are listening at novelfull.audio. When he opened his eyes again, the sky was already red and the forest was already a little dark. How was the harvest? Lu Huar asked. Lu Yuan did not answer directly, but raised his hand after a little thought and patted the ground in front of him. His movements were very slow, but in Lu Huar's eyes, it was as if she saw a mountain pressing forward. Bang! With a muffled sound, the dead leaves and dust scattered, and a shallow palm print appeared on the ground in front of him, about 1 square meter in size. At this point, I hope readers will remember our domain name Taiwan Novel Network Diamond Suit. Lu Hua swallowed a mouthful of saliva. Isn't it a bit exaggerated? Lu Yuan smiled proudly and smacked his lips. Not bad, I learned a trick, and the power doubled with the same internal force consumption. TSK, what's the use of great power, it's just a bag of poison powder. Lu Hua curled her lips, not to say that she couldn't stand Lu Yuan's boasting, she just squeezed him out of habit. Qinggong also has a bonus. As Lu Yuan said this, he jumped up on the spot, and he didn't see him using force. His body just stayed in the air for a breath, and then slowly fell down, and it seemed like there was no gravity in the process. This time, Lu Hua was completely dumbfounded. If she didn't feel the palm strike just now too strongly, it was because she only practiced internal strength and light skills. But this time, Lu Yuan demonstrated light skills, and the direct impact made her doubt whether Lu Yuan had jumped out of the scope of martial arts. I want to learn this. Lu Hua's eyes sparkled. It's a bit troublesome to learn this. Lu Yuan thought about it and summarized, you first need to pay attention to the wind, then understand the wind, and finally become the wind. Lu Hua. Well, this technique requires the resonance of the spirit and the wind. It can't be explained for a while. I will guide you slowly in the future. Let's find a place first. I'll write something. The two of them changed to a relatively bright place and took out paper and pen from Lu Hua's bag. Lu Yuan started writing quickly, drawing some little people from time to time. In just one stick of incense, a book Hengshan fantasy sword that integrates all the sword techniques of Hengshan school and innovates the old was born. This sword technique is more bizarre and sharp than before. If you practice it to perfection, when you swing the sword, both the sound of the sword and the sword body will have a slight hallucinogenic effect. The opponent will be dizzy if he is not careful, and the outcome is self-evident. After writing the secret book, Yuan took Lu Huar to Hengshan sect again and placed the manuscript of the secret book in the headmaster's room. After doing this, they went down the mountain and left. On the way back to Hengshan city, the southwest wind blew. Yuan took Lu Huar and took her to experience the wind in nature. The two flew above the treetops, and one step slid out a distance of more than 10 feet. The speed was very fast. From a distance, it looked like an immortal in the clouds. It took them only 5 minutes to travel more than 20 miles. When they arrived at the restaurant in the city, Lu Huar's eyes were still excited, and she kept pulling him to verify whether the realization she had just made was correct. She even mentioned it in her diary that night. June 20th, the 11th year of Wanli. Today, I took the Hengshan sect's secret book. Yuan's skills have made another breakthrough. When he returned, he took me to travel by wind. That speed was really fast. On the way, he said he could go faster and asked me if I wanted it. Damn, his eyes were so bad at that time. I liked it so much, crossed out. I want to learn it as soon as possible. That speed is really pleasing. The next day, early in the morning, the red carpet was rolled out in front of the Lu mansion, and the sound of firecrackers ignited the excitement of today. The major sects that arrived last night began to visit one after another this morning. Yuan and the other person waited until almost noon before they disguised themselves as two Jianghu people and followed the flow of people into the Lu mansion. They were naturally here to eat and watch a big show. There were more than 20 tables in the courtyard, scattered around the courtyard, with a red carpet in the middle and rows of mahogany chairs on both sides. The guests sitting on them were all specially invited to this Golden Basin retirement conference, such as Yubuchuan of Huashan sect, Master Dingxian of Hengshan sect, Tianmen Taoist of Taishan sect and other important figures of the Five Mountain Sword sect. Hey! Yuan was surprised to find that Yuanzhai had also come to the scene. He remembered that the original work only mentioned that Yuanzhai came to Hengshan city because he wanted to chase Lin Pingji, and the final Golden Basin retirement conference did not appear. Now maybe the plot has changed, or he was going to come, because he didn't say it at the beginning, so it was not mentioned in the original work. But why does Yuanzhai look so irritable now? That's right, at this time, Yuanzhai was like a madman whose wife ran away with someone, staring at everyone present with red eyes, especially the heads of the major sects sitting on the mahogany chairs. Hey! Master Yu, why are you staring at us like this? That the speaker was the current leader of the Beggars sect, a minor character whose name Yuan couldn't remember. When he said this, almost everyone on the wooden chair looked over. They also wanted to know this question. Many Jianghu people around also looked over. Oh, I'm looking for someone. Yuanzhai spoke in Sichuanese. Who is Master Yu looking for? Is that person among us? That the one who asked the question was Master Ding Xian. She said this with confidence, because Yuanzhai just stared at the man, so the person he was looking for would naturally not be her. Yuanzhai's reputation has been somewhat affected since the Fuwei escort agency case. He is obviously in a crazy state at this moment, and no one wants to mess with him. A sword wielder, on the banks of the Minjiang River a few days ago, that man chiseled my boat, harmed my disciples, and even took advantage of the situation to hit me with a sword, and even took away my evil sword manual. When he said this, Yuanzhai almost jumped out word by word, his eyes constantly moving on the faces of several people in the venue, just to see everyone's reaction. What? Another evil sword manual? Everyone was shocked by the news, but then he was stared at by Yuanzhai's sword-wielding eyes, which made him feel a little uncomfortable. Master Yu, what's that look in your eyes? Are you looking at the prisoner? I advise you to stop. No one here will steal your sword manual. The person who spoke this time was Taoist Tianmen. He has a simple mind and a hot temper. Now stood up directly, as if he would fight if he looked at her again. Faced with this direct accusation, Yuanzhai unexpectedly did not get angry. Instead, he looked at the other person carefully, raised his hands and clasped his fists. Brother Tianmen, I am sure that this matter has nothing to do with you. I have offended you just now, so please forgive me. Tianmen Taoist was a little overwhelmed by what he said. He snorted softly, waved his sleeves, and sat back. Others were also confused by this scene. I was still doubting it just now, but now it's ruled out. Could it be that you want them to stand up and fight hard to prove their innocence? It's really impossible to do this, and other sects simply stop looking here, but Yu Canghai seemed to have found the target. His eyes were always fixed on Yu Buchuan, who was gently waving the folding fan. Master Yu, I see that you don't look very good, but have you been sick recently? That Yu Buchuan folded his fan and looked at Yu Canghai. Thank you so much, Master Yu, for your concern. I'm not sick. I just couldn't get a good rest due to my apprenticeship in the past 2 days. Yu Buchuan was right. Last night at the inn, the Taishan sect and the Hengshan sect came to the door at the same time. One was killed because of his apprentice, and the other was kidnapped because of Yilan. They all came to ask for an explanation. Haha, that's right. Your apprentice killed his comrades and became brothers with the flower-picking thieves. His character seems to be average. I just don't know if the apprentice is crooked or just the same. Hey! Why are you so rude? It's no wonder that you are still the leader of the same faction, and you always speak in weird ways. The speaker was a young and beautiful girl. Ling Shan. Lao Yu raised his hand to interrupt. Don't be rude to Master Yu. She just lost the secret book and was too impatient, so she made a mistake. After saying that, he raised his hand to Yu Canghai and said, Master Yu, I know you are eager to find the person who stole the secret book. You don't need to test them one by one. You can tell the characteristics of that person and we will help you identify them. There is no need for that. Everyone is offended. How do you feel? The people around him nodded subconsciously after hearing this, feeling that it made sense. However, Yu Canghai, who had been staring at Yu Buchuan's complexion, grinned and was about to get up and speak. A sound of gongs suddenly sounded, indicating that the hour had arrived. Lu Zhengfeng, who was wearing a long robe, walked out from the backcourt, raised his hands and said to everyone, Thank you all for coming to participate in Lu's Golden Basin hand-washing meeting. Now the time has come. I would like to thank you all for your witness. From now on, I, Lu Zhengfeng, will withdraw from the world. Right or wrong has nothing to do with me, and I will no longer care about it. As he spoke, he spread out his hands and reached into the prepared golden basin. Wait. Chapter 26, Notes and Letters. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. Just like the original novel, Fabin of Songzhan sect led a group of Songzhan disciples, holding a triangular flag and striding into the venue. Then the two sides had a tug of war over the issue of you can't wash your hands. I must wash my hands. Taiwan Novel Network. That, finally, under Lu Zhengfeng's stubbornness, Fabin stopped pretending. With a wave of his hand, he dragged out Lu Zhengfeng's family. The long knife was directly placed on their necks, trying to force them to submit. To be honest, this scene had a great impact on the surrounding Jianghu people. Jianghu people are originally seeking fame and face, and the higher the status, the more so. In the end, even if you don't want to, the surrounding environment and people will force you to abide by the rules and maintain your dignity in public. But now, Songzhan sect, as the leader of the Five Mountain Sword sect, openly held the other party's family and children hostage. This made the surrounding Jianghu people feel unsure. Most of them have wives and children at home, but now, even the big sects no longer follow the saying don't let the family suffer. Such a leading role will have a great impact on those who follow and imitate. Over time, how many people in this world can still stick to the bottom line? At this moment, many people in the world felt cold in their hearts and had already thought of retiring. Lu Hua also suddenly understood why Lu Yuan said that the essence of this world is chaos. The nun of Hengshan sect couldn't stand it after all and spoke out to stop it. As a result, the Songzhan sect only talked about Lu Zhengfeng's collusion with Chu Yang. And the old nun hesitated. Lu Zhengfeng jumped out to correct him at this time, saying that you can hold my whole family hostage, but you can't insult the relationship between me and Chu Yang. The two of us are like Boya and Ziki. How can you ordinary people understand it? The Xuanhuan sect was determined to deal with Lu Jingfeng and didn't buy it at all. Lu Jingfeng was a little angry, and turned to Yuan to reason, but this reason was about the pure friendship between him and Xiangjiang, not the butcher's knife on his family's neck. Yuan closed his folding fan and wanted to stand up and say a few more words to maintain his gentlemanly persona. As a result, he found out from the corner of his eye that Yu Canghai had been staring at him, which made him very uncomfortable. He lost the desire to say more, and said a few words hastily, which was not painful or itchy. This conversation between the big sects made the surrounding Jianghu people silent. Just when many people lamented that the Jianghu had changed, Lu Jingfeng, who was threatened with his wife and children in the field, refreshed people's three views again. He said that no one in the world could understand his relationship with Xiangjiang. He told the Xuanhuan sect with his neck stiff that if they wanted to kill him, they would kill him, and he still had to wash his hands. He even asked his own children with great pride, whether they were afraid. Fei Bin was also a ruthless person. He directly expressed with his actions that since you have given up your family, we will not be polite to you. Swish. The sound of the long knife cutting through flesh and blood made everyone feel cold in their hearts. Blood splattered on Lu Jingfeng's face, and he just paused, but his hand was still reaching into the golden basin. Lu Yuan, I want to kill those people on the stage. Lu Huar looked at the stage with a low voice. Really? Yes. Then kill them. I'll help you. Yes. Lu Huar looked at Lu Yuan in surprise. Will this not disrupt your arrangements? Lu Yuan shrugged indifferently. My arrangements are just for convenience, and some arrangements are also made casually. No one can predict what will happen in the future. Since you don't like it now, then kill them. We will never wrong ourselves in such matters. After listening to this, Lu Huar laughed all of a sudden. She now understands what the old beggar said to her. Forget it, I was joking, keep it. The people on the stage did not know that they had walked through the gates of hell. They were all watching Fei Bin kill people and destroy their hearts. The other party held a bloody long sword and pressed it against the forehead of Lu Jingfeng's last youngest son, forcing him to say the word deserved to be killed about his own father. This extreme humiliation broke Lu Jingfeng's defense, and he snatched the other party's long sword and was about to commit suicide. At the critical moment, Ling Hu Chong shouted, appeared on the scene to stop him, and stood in front of everyone, as if he was going to block the world for the other party. This scene was very Jianghu for a while. But two conversations that could not be heard clearly, male or female, and in which direction could not be distinguished, suddenly sounded. Hey, didn't that man come a long time ago? Why didn't he come out when those women were killed just now? Maybe he didn't have time. Oh. The conversation was not loud, but it was heard by many people present. Someone immediately looked around, but could not find the source of the sound. The heads of the major sects felt nervous at the same time. The first reaction was that there was a master. Ling Hu Chang's mouth twitched in the field. Could he say that he was drinking a glass of wine just now, and Fei Bin killed too quickly, so he really didn't react? Besides, the man's wife and daughter were killed just now, and the husband didn't say anything in person. What reason did he have to stand up? And if he stood up at that time, wouldn't it destroy the spirit of Uncle Lu's family, who would rather die than surrender? Fortunately, the embarrassment in the scene only lasted for a moment, and Chu Yang's appearance pulled the tension back again. The two of them pushed Ling Hu Chong away tacitly, leaving behind a sentence, a gentleman's revenge is never too late, 10 years, and then forced their way out. It seemed that he had forgotten that he still had a young son in the hands of the enemy. In response, Lu Yuan just glanced at it, and his eyes fell on the surrounding Jianghu guests. Soon, two abnormal figures were locked by him. Seeing that the other party had left the table, Lu Yuan also took Lu Huar to follow. It is obvious that the two people who just had a conversation were him and Lu Huar, and the reason for doing so was not aimless. He simply wanted to find out whether there were Jinui at the scene. You know, the way of transmitting sound just now can only be done by those with superb internal skills. At this Gene Pen retirement conference, a strange internal skill master suddenly appeared. If there were Jinui at the scene, they would not be able to ignore it. the departure of Lu Yuan and the others did not alarm anyone. Everyone chased out of Lu's house together and watched Chu Yang and the others jump onto the roof and disappear. Some people chased, but more people had quietly returned to the inner house of Lu's house. Obviously, they not only wanted to eat, but also prepared to take. At this moment, the heads of various sects gathered together. Yu Buchuan stared at his apprentice with a dark face, but before he could scold him, Yu Canghai had taken the lead. Master Yu. Don't be in a hurry to teach your disciple a lesson. You were right before. I just thought about it carefully and found that the thief who stole my secret book was very similar to Master Yu. In order not to affect Master Yu's reputation, how about we have a fight? The words were just a question, but Yu Canghai had already drawn the sword in his hand. Yu Buchuan wanted to say that body shape had nothing to do with fighting, and body shape was impossible to be similar, because he was wearing clothes at the time. The spectators around never thought that another wonderful scene would be staged after the curtain rose and fell. They also saw that Yu Canghai was suspicious, or sure that the person who stole the secret book was Yu Buchuan. Some people with ulterior motives looked at Yu Buchuan with a little more obscurity. Hey! You ugly dwarf, you have repeatedly provoked my Huashan sect. What is your intention? Yu Lingshan once again spoke up for her father, and this time old Yu did not stop him. What's your intention? Little girl, you have no right to speak yet. Yu Buchuan, I'm asking you, do you want to fight or not? Old Yu frowned slightly. He found that Yu Canghai might have really recognized him, and it was really inconvenient for him to take action at this moment. Don't get me wrong, he hasn't cut yet, but was injured by Yu Canghai's heartbreaking palm. It's okay if he doesn't take action, but the injury will be exposed if he exerts a little force. Just as he was thinking about how to break the situation, a cry attracted everyone. Master Tianmen, Master Dingxian, Master Yu, come and see. Old Yu breathed a sigh of relief in his heart, secretly saying, I've helped a lot. He hurriedly led people over, and when he passed by Yu Canghai, he didn't forget to bow and say next time. When the group arrived at the scene, they saw 2 people and a carrier pigeon dead on the ground. At the same time, 2 identity tokens were placed on the chest. After seeing it, the knowledgeable people exclaimed on the spot, this is Jinyui. Hearing these 3 words, the brows of the Jianghu sects all frowned. Even Yu Canghai's attention was diverted. At this time, the person who just discovered it handed a credence to Lao Yu and others. This is the letter taken from the pigeon's leg. Lao Yu and others unfolded it and saw only one sentence on it, everything went well at Lu's house. Lu Jingfeng was later rescued by Chu Yang. Yu Canghai lost the sword manual of exorcism, which was suspected to have fallen into the hands of Yu Buchuan. A hidden master appeared on the scene, requesting follow-up instructions. Chapter 27 Song of the Mountain. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The content on the note was very short, but the heads read it for a long time. Suddenly, the scene became quiet, and no one expressed their attitude. In the end, Master Dingxian broke the news. Everyone, what do you think? How else can we look at it? This is the imperial court's surveillance of us. I don't know how long this kind of thing has been happening. As far as I'm concerned, just take the bodies of these 2 people and go to the capital to ask for details. Taoist Tianmen was indignant. Even if the court does it, it won't say anything about it. Then we'll kill them. They're in the wrong for this matter, so what else can they say? Senior brother Tianmen, that is the imperial court, and we are also citizens of the Ming dynasty. Taiwan Novel Network. I didn't say it wasn't true. Besides, the road to the world is far away. Can those officials still come down from the temple? The more Lao Yu listened, the more outrageous he became. Sweat broke out on his back, and he quickly said, Brother Tianmen, please be patient. It involves the court. This matter is very troublesome. We still need to investigate further. We can't rule out that the Devil's sect is responsible. Why, don't act impulsively. Senior brother Yu is right. Let's not talk about whether the identity of these 2 people is true. Just the fact that they suddenly died here is very bizarre. Having said this, Fei Bin looked at the person who just discovered it. Seeing that he was a disciple of his Songhan sect, he looked away and said, I will inform the leader of the Swo Alliance about this first. Everyone should not be impulsive and pay more attention to your surroundings in the future. A few more useless words were exchanged, several sects said goodbye to each other and left one after another with their own concerns. Among them, Yuan was the most worried. Fortunately, the expected roadblock did not appear. In the distance, Yuan was watching this scene with a note between his fingers. This was what the two Genie Wei wanted to send, but Yuan rewrote it after being kidnapped. As for the content on the paper, excluding the code words, it is similar to what the major leader saw just now, except for the news about the change of ownership of the evil fighting sword manual. Looking at their looks, they don't seem to believe it completely. It doesn't matter, it's just a nail. Then where do we go next? Don't leave in a hurry. It's not over yet. Let's see if we can catch a few more Genie Wei this time. If it goes well. Yuan looked at the note in his hand. Maybe we can arrange something. A very beautiful play. That night, Emoda, the leader of the Hengshan sect, who was filled with anger because his junior brother's family was killed, returned to the sect's residence carrying his arrow on his back. Perhaps it was the reason why he was walking alone and deserted. Seeing that the once huge and prosperous sect was now in his hands, only 3 or 2 big cats and kittens were left. Today, he was even suppressed by other sects, and he felt a wave of pain in his heart. Sadness and humiliation. Squeak, the door was pushed open by him. As a habit, he lit the oil lamp and took off his arrow from his back, intending to play a song to express his depression. On the desk, a brand new manuscript came into his eyes. Emoda was startled and suddenly stood up and looked around. No other unnecessary traces were found in the room. He didn't have time to check the manuscript, so he quickly moved the bookshelf and dug out the wooden box under the blue bricks. After opening it, he breathed a sigh of relief after confirming that the secret book was not lost. Putting the secret book away, he came back to the desk, frowned and picked up the manuscript, the first column in the list, Hengshan Fantasy Sword. Emoda's expression changed, and he continued to look down. The flame of the oil lamp was shaking and burning in this quiet environment. I don't know how long it took. The oil in the lamp became less and less, the firelight became weaker and weaker, but Emoda's eyes opened wider and wider. His hands gradually trembled. At a certain moment, the oil lamp went out, and there was a big oops. Like an impatient little old man, he rummaged around the house for lamp oil and waited for a while before refilling it. He grabbed the manuscript again and continued to read it like a treasure, until one night passed. Emoda wrote down all the contents and put away the secret book with great treasure. At the same time, he kept chanting one sentence: "Thank you, ancestors, for keeping us safe. Thank you, ancestors, for your merits." Unlike Lin Zhennan back then, Yuan didn't leave any more words besides the secret book, only one sentence: "Practice diligently, innovate, and don't be rigid." Therefore, Emoda came up with a scenario where the senior couldn't bear the decline of his sect, so he specially gave him magical powers to save him from danger. Of course, Yuan didn't know about this. Also on this day, a team of 6 Genie Wei rushed to Hengshan City. After investigating what happened that day, the leader of the Baihu looked gloomy and scary, and the other 5 were silent, not even daring to breathe. Obviously, this is the same person who took action in Fuzhou City. Now it is certain that he is aware of our actions and intends to expose us. This behavior is provocation. A subordinate hesitated for a moment and said, "The other party seems to be very targeted." "What do you want to say?" The first 100 households turned to look. The subordinate shrank his neck and explained quickly, "These 2 death cases suddenly reminded me of something. You should also remember this. It was the mission that Lu Heng and the 4 went on a year ago. After sending back the news after that, the 4 Lu Heng people disappeared, and the 2 children were also missing." The first 100 households sneered. "You want to say that it was those 2 children who killed Lu Heng and the 4 others, and started to take revenge on us a year later? Well, is it possible that they were rescued by someone? The 2 recent cases were the work of the person who rescued them. After all, we have never been exposed before." The leading centurion did not object this time, but was thoughtful. After a while, he suddenly said, "Have those sects not set off yet?" "Yes, they are all in tacit understanding." Hee, the charm of this sword manual of exorcism is really great. How is the search in Xuanhuan sect going? According to the news sent back this morning, it seems that someone has found something in the Quifeng Peak in the south of Hengshan Mountain, and is now gathering disciples to rush there. The leading centurion nodded slightly and asked, how many people can we mobilize in Hengshan City? Including the informant, we can still get 20 people. Very good, call everyone, let's go and take a look together. Quifeng Peak, 50 miles southwest of Hengshan City, in the early morning and evening here, there is always fog filling the valley, which is very beautiful. Ding ding dong dong. The melodious sound of the piano and the flute dance together. At first, it seemed like a question and answer, like a clear spring in the mountain stream, gurgling in the valley, and like clouds on the top of the cliff, dancing and changing without a trace of dust. Listening quietly, sometimes it is gentle and graceful, and sometimes it is decisive and decisive, which just corresponds to the tenderness and pleasure of children in the rivers and lakes. Lu Yuan and Lu Huar sat on a cliff, eating wild fruits in the mountains and listening to the songs in the valley. Is it nice? It's okay. It was Lu Huar who answered, somewhat reluctantly. She didn't like the two people in the valley, but she had to admit that the performance at this time was the most visual song she had heard since she was a child. Lu Yuan didn't feel as surprised as she did. He had been influenced by countless golden songs in later generations, and his immunity was strong enough. This swordsman was put in later generations, and it could only be said to be very tasteful, but if it was at the moment, it was indeed a famous piece. Of course, while listening to the music, Lu Yuan was also taking advantage of the terrain to check the situation around the valley. If nothing unexpected happened, the people from Xuanhuan sect should be here soon. As if to confirm what he was thinking, there was a sound of swords clashing in the distance. Looking in the direction, a masked figure in black was fighting with a group of Xuanhuan disciples in yellow shirts. Chapter 28 Fighting. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. Lu Yuan immediately realized that the person should be the heroine of Xiao Ao Zhong, the demon sect's holy aunt Reningying. Now that the other party has appeared, then, Lu Yuan searched for a while, and sure enough, he found Ling Huchong, who was covering his chest and injured, and the nun Yilan who was working anxiously next to him beside a large bluestone at the back of the battlefield. It's funny to say that throughout the whole play, Ling Huchong's injury seemed to never get better. It started to get worse at this time, and then got worse and worse. It took nearly a year before he overcame the difficulties and achieved great success. It can be regarded as the protagonist's hardships and adventures coexist. Typical, Lu Zhengfeng and Chu Yang, who noticed the situation there, joined the battle immediately. At the same time, they were accompanied by a young girl, Chu Yang's granddaughter Chu Fian. In the original work, she died in this fight, or to be precise, by Fei Bin's sword. To be honest, it's a bit plot-killing. Its role is to inspire the protagonist Ling Huchong to change, shake his worldview, and discover that the demon sect is not all bad people, and the decent people are sometimes more cruel than the so-called demon sect, which leads to his subsequent rebellion and falling in love with the saint of the demon sect. Let me pave the way. While Lu Yuan was thinking about it, the battle gradually began to heat up. Although Ling Huchong and Reningying were both very skilled, the number of enemies was too large and was still increasing, forcing everyone to retreat. You go first, I'll hold you back. Reningying pierced one person's chest with her dagger and shouted quickly to Chu Yang and the others. No, we have to go together. The person who answered was not Chu Yang, but Ling Huchong. His lips turned white and he kicked away a Xuanhuan disciple in front of him, staggering. Stop talking nonsense, I have a way to get out of here. You guys here will only be a drag. Under the black gauze veil, Reningying's voice was cold, and the aura of a demonic saint spread out, making people subconsciously want to obey. Ling Huchong was not a brainless person. After hearing what the other party said and the explanation from Chu Yang beside him, he also acquiesced to this arrangement. He said, "Be careful." Then he prepared to follow Chu Yang and others to withdraw first. However, perhaps due to the butterfly effect, something different from the original happened. Fei Bin, who was supposed to meet at the hut, suddenly rushed to the scene and cut off their escape. Now, it would be difficult for Ling Huchong and the others to escape. Linghu's nephew and Yilan's niece colluded with the demon sect and blatantly resisted the SwordWielder's arrest order. What else do you have to say? Now before the big mistake is made, arrest them immediately, otherwise don't blame me. I'm blind. As usual, when we meet, we first put our hats on each other. Uncle Fei, not all demon sects are bad people. Why don't you ask any questions and just kill them when you come up? The devils of the demon cult will be punished by the upright ones. Didn't your master teach you? Of course my master taught me. He even told me that the WUS sword sect should lead by example, practice self-cultivation, be upright, not abuse the old and the young, and not use unprovoked violence on others. Master Fei, tell me what this little girl did bad thing, why don't you let her go just because she is with someone from the demon cult? Linghu Chang's face was very pale at the moment, but the fire on his forehead was very strong. It's so stupid. She is Chu Yang's biological granddaughter. Linghu Chong, ask her yourself if she has ever had a human life on her hands. Linghu Chong was startled when he heard this, and subconsciously looked at Chu Fian, who had blood on his face. The other party grinned, and his pure white teeth were stained with blood. I have killed people, but those are the guys who want to harm me and Grandpa. They will die without mercy. Linghu Chong felt his throat dry for no reason. Fei Bin laughed loudly and saw from the corner of his eye that all the disciples of his sect had arrived. Without further delay, he danced his sword in his hand and charged directly into the crowd. You heard it too, Linghu Chong, you'd better take niece Yuan aside now, otherwise I will have to take your body to see Master Yu. The fighting on the field started again. Linghu Chong looked around blankly, his heart was in confusion. Yilan kept pulling the other person's arm. Senior brother Linghu, on the cliff in the distance. Even Lu Huar looked worried. How come this protagonist is so naive? He is almost a year older than us. Why does the world in his eyes still appear to be black and white? It's not surprising. The protagonists in the storybooks all grow up from countless blows. This is what you see now. Lu Yuan explained casually, but his eyes had already fallen outside the battlefield, where the approaching on the white-haired figure. Then the protagonist is really miserable. Lu Huar complained, and when she saw Lu Yuan's gaze, she followed her gaze and saw the white-haired figure holding an arrow and quickly approaching the battlefield. Hey, that's not. Well, that's him, the leader of the Hengshan sect. Lu Huar suddenly became energetic. He must have read the secret book you left, right? Maybe. Lu Yuan said, stuffing a wild strawberry into his mouth. His expression suddenly distorted, and he reluctantly said, as the leader, this old man has already thoroughly mastered the swordsmanship of the Hengshan school. If he has read the secret book, he should be very good at getting started. Quick. Yeah. Lu Huar nodded and turned to look at Lu Yuan. What's wrong with you? It's okay, these wild strawberries are quite sweet, try it. He said and handed one to Lu Huar's mouth. The girl habitually opened her mouth and took a bite. Her body froze for an instant, and her face seemed to change in the next moment. Her expression suddenly twisted. Ah! You! Bah, bah, bah! Lu Yuan, you are going to die. Raising his hand to block Lu Huar's small punch, Lu Yuan laughed so hard that he raised his hand and pointed downwards. Quick, look, the fight is about to begin. Lu Huar vomited a few more mouthfuls to the side, turned around and glared at Lu Yuan, and then paid attention to the battle below. A great addition. There is no polite word like in the original work. The harvest begins as soon as you enter. The sound of arrows sounds in the valley, but this time the music is no longer sad, no longer gentle, but murderous. I saw Moda in the field doing qigong, holding the arrow with his hands. The hazy silver-white whose string was like a long sword, pulling out notes and slashing out sword shadows. His movements were not fast, but people were a little dizzy when he saw some sword shadows. Even though he was thousands of miles away, he still killed people. He was cunning and illusory. There was no enemy wherever he went. He would die wherever he went. Linghu Chong and others were really shocked by this scene of slaughter. Brother, Lu Jingfeng spoke with some fear of admitting it. he knew that his senior brother was very strong in the past, but he was not as outrageous as he is today. After not seeing him for a day, he seemed a little too big. Moreover, the swordsmanship used by the senior brother looked familiar, but he had never seen it before. Could it be some true inheritance that he didn't know? All kinds of thoughts happen in one moment. The white-haired old man looked back at his junior brother and wanted to say something, but all he could say was a sigh. Lu Zhengfeng knew what his senior brother was sighing about. He had already made his choice and had no regrets. The senior brother is now willing to show up to help him. On the one hand, it is out of past friendship, and on the other hand, it is the head's response to Zhuo Chan of the Xuanhuan sect. Since you killed my whole family, I will kill your right-hand man. Senior brother Mo, do you really want to be an enemy of our Xuanhuan sect? Fei Bin's voice was loud, but it sounded a bit harsh. Mo didn't say much after hearing this and walked straight towards the other party. It's too much. Fei Bin had cold sweat dripping from his forehead. He raised his long sword and seemed to be fighting for his life. However, he suddenly retreated in the next second. His eyes were full of horror. It was not that he had never seen Mo make a move. He had the impression that he was a little stronger than himself, but that was just a little bit. So scary like today. Could it be that he has been hiding his clumsiness in the past? It was so insidious, he couldn't help but wonder, could Zhou's hangman be able to block such a sharp and changing swordsmanship? No matter what, this news must be brought back. However, Lu Zhengfeng, who had cooperated well with his senior brother in the past, was the first to block Fei Bin, who was retreating. Before the other party could curse, Mo Da's sword had already flashed past the other party's throat. It wasn't until Fei Bin fell that he uttered a leisurely sentence. The Hengshan sect cannot be humiliated. Almost at the same time, Lu Yuan also pulled Lu Huar to stand up. Look, I knew I could still catch fish, and there were quite a lot of them this time. Chapter 29, Taking the Hook. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. Lu Huar followed Lu Yuan's direction and saw two men in gray peeping out. Only two. Look more carefully. Lu Yuan pointed in a few more directions. At this time, Lu Huar simply took out the binoculars and observed them for a while before speaking cautiously. They are well hidden. There are more than 20 people in total. They shouldn't be going for those people below. Could it be? That's right, just to catch us. The Jinwei were killed twice. They should have reacted no matter what. Are you able to ambush people here specifically? Does that mean we are sure to be there? How is that possible? They can at most see that we like to join in the fun. Lu Yuan grinned. The Jinwei died in Hengshan City. Someone from other places will definitely come to investigate, and I speculate that those Jinwei will not let go after they arrive. This pursuit of the Xuanhuan sect is very likely to show up. In this case, we can throw a rod here. As for whether a fish will take the bait, it will be left to luck. This is fishing. Taiwan Novel Network. People seem to think so too. Lu Huar took over the words and looked at the two people who were exposed. They seem to be using their tricks to see if they can catch us. Hee, you are right. Unfortunately, the fisherman who was discovered is no longer in danger. That's not my suggestion to come to the top of the cliff to have a look, otherwise. Lu Huar wanted to be arrogant, but she looked down at the sea of mountains, rocks and forests. If she didn't carefully distinguish where she could find another figure, she couldn't help scratching her nose. By the way, how did you find out? At this time, Lu Yuan had turned around, raised his hand and unleashed a wave of Tai Chi energy, sweeping in the surrounding vines and green plants. He sat down and started knitting dexterously with his hands. When he heard the question, the corners of his mouth couldn't help but raise. Hey, don't we have a good memory? At first, we just found some differences, so we compared them with the pictures in our minds, and found them right away. It's different. Then the two baits showed up on their own initiative, acting stupidly, for fear that they would not be discovered. Hearing Lu Yuan begin to boast again, Lu Huar decisively changed the subject. What are you doing? You'll know soon. As he spoke, Lu Yuan had already finished knitting. He did not answer directly, but smiled mysteriously, put the clothes woven from green vines on his body, and then stood among the cliff vegetation. Asked, "What do you think?" Lu Hua was stunned at first, and then immediately understood what Lu Yuan was going to do. She clapped her hands and said excitedly, "Quick, give me one too." At this time, the fighting in the valley was coming to an end, the two genie guards were still performing hard. One of them was facing forward, but his eyes were scanning the surroundings, and he whispered, "I feel that the other party may not be here." The other person didn't look back and muttered in response, "What should we do?" "Go back now. Just wait and see what the boss wants." When the two of them were talking, they didn't notice two green figures flying lightly from one side. In order to hide his figure better, Lu Yuan didn't even let Lu Hua use his internal energy here, and he took the lead throughout the whole process, relying on the concealment of the latest version of longevity skill. The two of them had quietly reached the nearest ambush point, which was less than 5 meters away from the four figures lying in the grass in front of them. Lu Yuan tapped his toes and stepped forward silently, with his free right hand. He waved his hand and instantly brushed the four heavenly spirits. It was like an inconspicuous breeze blowing in the forest, but after the wind blew, the original whispers were completely silent. Lu Yuan didn't stop and continued flying to the next place. "How long do we have to wait?" Someone somewhere was hiding impatiently. "We are just ordinary informants, why do we have to do this kind of arrest work?" "Hey, why don't you speak?" The man turned his head and saw the 5 companions around him, all of whom had their heads buried as if asleep. "Hey! What are you doing?" The man reached out and pushed, and the person closest to him tilted his head, revealing a face with blood oozing from the 7 holes. The man's face turned pale instantly. "Aren't you going to take action yet?" At this time, a slightly cute girl's voice came from the other side. Just as he was about to turn his head to look, he felt a wave of dizziness coming from the top of his head, and his consciousness fell into darkness. June and July are the season when mosquitoes breed in the forest. The hundreds of genie who were hiding in the woods swatted away the provocative mosquitoes in front of them. Although their expressions did not change, their eyes had lost their patience. "That's all, go call those two back." The subordinates around him obeyed the order and got up to inform the 2 people who were acting as bait in the distance. Soon, the 3 of them returned together. The first 100 households also walked out of the forest, frowning and patting the grass blades off their bodies. Others also shouted, "Are they still addicted to lying down?" However, no one paid any heed to his words. The Baihu immediately realized something was wrong and saw the 3 subordinates who had just returned, looking at him or behind him with frightened expressions. The middle-aged Baihu realized something and decisively used his internal strength to counterattack with a palm. At the same time, he exerted force under his feet and wanted to stay away. However, an inexplicable force not only eliminated the strength of his palm, but also pulled his body. The figure that had already left the ground had no choice but to fall back again. Baihu, who turned around at this moment, also saw clearly the people coming behind him. They were 2 masked men wearing straw clothes, one tall and one short. His remaining 2 subordinates were lying on the bed at the moment. At their feet, they don't know whether to live or die. When was this done? The middle-aged centurion felt that everything that happened in front of him was beyond his understanding, but he was sure of one thing, that he was afraid he would fail this time. Quickly thinking about the situation in front of him, the middle-aged centurion did not intend to give up. At least he wanted to fight for the possibility of survival for himself. Since the other party had been hunting Jinhui, some information must be important to him, and these could be his bargaining chips. Just thinking about it, a hand had already pressed over. "Wait a minute." Before the other party finished speaking, Lu Yuan had knocked the other party unconscious with a palm. Then he looked at the remaining 3 who were still standing. The 3 immediately knelt down and tried to beg for mercy, but the 3 iron beads were 1 step faster than them and hit their eyebrows. Sensing that someone was coming quickly in the distance, Lu Yuan embraced Lu Hua, picked up the centurion with his other hand, stepped on the leaves, and disappeared in the forest in a few steps. When Emoda and Ling Huchong arrived, they saw only 5 corpses. Ling Huchong went forward to check and frowned, saying, "Killed by a hidden weapon, just dead." After saying that, he looked around uncomfortably. At this time, Chu Fian exclaimed, "There are still people here." Everyone rushed to see that there were also 4 people who had just died, but they died from the internal force rushing to the brain. Something is wrong. Spread out and look around. Ren Yingying was the first to notice something was wrong. Soon, everyone found all the bodies, a total of 25 people, 22 of whom died quietly. These people are lying in ambush here. Are they going to deal with us? But which force are they? And who attacked them? Ling Huchong asked 3 times in a row, expressing everyone's thoughts. Just at this time, Emoda, who had been silent, took out the identity token from the bodies of the 5 Jinyui and threw it on the ground. Everyone looked over when they heard the sound. Jinyui, thought this result was beyond everyone's expectations. The Jinyui appeared at the Jinpen retirement ceremony just happened, and it has not been confirmed whether it is true or not. Now it is happening again, and it appears in the form of an ambush, which makes everyone feel uncomfortable being shrouded in conspiracy. On the other side, Lu Yuan, who is more concerned with killing than burying, has brought people to a hidden place. A slap fell to wake the man up, and the mind-bewitching technique was activated at the same time. Look at me. Chapter 3013 Xiangjiang River Bandits. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. In the quiet valley, the question and answer session lasted for a long time. When Lu Yuan and the others walked out again, the answers they wanted to know were clear. At present, there are more than 300 Jinyui active in the martial arts world, scattered around the major sects, responsible for collecting various martial arts secrets, and long-term implementation of the weak martial arts plan and assassination operations, under the jurisdiction of 300 households, the so-called weak martial arts plan literally means to weaken the martial arts world and maintain stability in the court. And the one Lu Yuan and his team just solved was one of the 300 households, surnamed Wang. The reason why he asked for so long was mainly to understand the secret language between the Jinyui and the way the 100 households spoke. After getting the information he wanted, Lu Yuan took Lu Huar back to Hengshan city first, found the Jinyui special pigeon, and sent the note he wrote. Looking at the pigeon flying away, Lu Huar's face was slightly red, and her eyes were full of inexplicable expectations. Will it succeed? It is very likely. All the Jinyui in Hengshan city have died. If we want to spread this matter today, we can only rely on Ling Huchong and his gang. And they are not big mouths. Except for the heads of each family, no one will know about it in a short time. This makes it possible to succeed. TSK, I am really looking forward to it. Lu Yuan smiled wickedly at this moment. On the other side, as Lu Yuan thought, after everyone separated, Ling Huchong immediately found Yubuchuan who was healing. He didn't care about being scolded by his master, and he hurriedly told him what happened today. After hearing this, Lao Yu stood up directly. Who else knows about this matter? Ling Huchong told everything without hiding it. After hearing this, Lao Yu frowned and said sternly, "Stay away from the demons of the demon cult next time." Yes. Ling Huchong hurriedly agreed. Also, keep this matter secret for the time being, don't tell anyone. I understand, disciple. Old Yu waved his hand to let him go. He was no longer in the mood to educate his disciples, and began to pace back and forth in the room. Ling Huchong's words just now revealed too much. First, Mo-Da attacked Xuanhuan sect and killed everyone, including Fei Bin. This matter is not small, and it will inevitably affect the relationship between the 5 mountains in the future. Secondly, Mo-Da is very powerful. Listening to Ling Huchong's description of him, his swordsmanship can be called illusory and weird, and it is hard to defend against. This made old Yu think of Bishia's sword manual at the first time, but then shook his head. After thinking about it, he came to the same guess as Fei Bin at the time, thinking that Mo-Da had been hiding his strength until Xuanhuan sect pushed too hard this time, so he couldn't help but force his move. Finally, it was the matter of Jinyui. Old Yu couldn't help but hit his forehead lightly. He didn't dare to think deeply, and he was so anxious that his head was bald. These 3 things came together, and Yubuchuan was anxious about his lack of strength again. In his mind, the figure of the red cassock kept flashing, and the scale in his heart gradually began to tilt. However, before that, he still had to solve the current problem first. Feeling that his internal injuries had improved a little, Lao Yu did not plan to stay any longer. He found his wife Ning Zhongzi to discuss the departure early tomorrow morning. Brother, is the evil defeating sword manual really not with you? Lao Yu showed a helpless look. I have explained that my internal injuries were caused by the strong luck of Zixia, junior sister. You still don't believe me? Ning Zhongzi shook his head. It's not that I don't believe it, but the people in the world don't believe it. According to my observations in the past few days, there are no less than 3 forces monitoring this place. I am worried that you can't explain it clearly, and there will be constant trouble later. So I propose to set off overnight. Lao Yu said, do you know what Chong'er told me when he came back in the afternoon? At that moment, Yu Buchuan mentioned what Ling Hu Chong said again, the internal troubles among the 5 mountain sword sects and the external troubles of the Imperial Guards appeared at the same time. Ning Zhongzi felt a headache after hearing it. Brother, you are right. We can't stay here any longer. With so many Jinui dead, Hengshan City will definitely be in turmoil next. Otherwise, we should leave overnight. No. Old Yu waved his hand hurriedly. If we leave, we must be fair and square, otherwise our Huashan sect will definitely become a suspect in the follow-up investigation. That's right, but what about those peepers in the dark? Let's leave Hengshan City first, and then take the waterway halfway to avoid everyone. Alas, this is the only way. The next morning, Yu Buchuan, who had been practicing Qigong and regulating his breath all night, got on his horse, ignored the prying eyes around him, and led the entire Huashan sect to leave Hengshan City from the west gate and headed north, giving people the feeling that they were going to take the land route. Not long after he left, the Qingqing sect also left. That night, Yu Buchuan led all the Huashan disciples, turned into the Xiangjiang ferry overnight, boarded the boat that had been prepared in advance, and began to head north. Everything was fine at first, until the boat reached Sanmen town. The waterway here is narrow and very close to the 2 banks, the second disciple Lao Dinua hurried to report, Master. The bottom of the boat has been broken, and there are water ghosts underneath. Lao Yu's face darkened, and the face of a Sichuan man instantly squeezed into his brain. Okay, let's give him a taste of his own medicine, right? Go and tell the boatman. Forget it. First notify your eldest brother to prepare for the thieves to get on board, and then. Master Yu. A loud shout came, interrupting Lao Yu's order. He quickly came to the deck and saw a group of Qingqing sect disciples who had surrounded them in a small boat. Master Yu, what do you mean? Does Qingqing sect want to go to war with Huashan? Hearing this, Yu Canghai, who was wearing a monkey mask, pretended to be confused. What is Master Yu? I am the 13th Xiangjiang water bandit. I have admired Master Yu for a long time, and I am here to visit today. Hee 13, what a good 13, Lao Yu was immediately laughed out of anger. Not to mention the spicy taste. Look at those Qingqing sect disciples who didn't even change their clothes. They just covered their faces with a piece of cloth and became water bandits. He raised his hand. You, this guy. Before Lao Yu came out, a wandering voice came from the other side of the deck, and he opened his mouth and said. Yu Canghai, you are a shameless person who crawled out of an old tortoise shell. You really interpret the word shameless to the fullest. Look at your face, it's a bit greener than that 1,000-year-old bastard. Why don't you dare to look in the mirror and see how virtuous you are? Oh, I forgot. You have a monkey face now. If you take it off, your butt will be exposed. No wonder you even changed your name. What's your name? Come on, be good, tell Grandpa what you are going to do today, or I will spank you. As soon as he said this, everyone around him burst into laughter. Yu Buchuan maintained himself as a gentleman and was so angry that he couldn't say some words. At this time, Ling Hu Chong became the mouthpiece, making him feel as if he drank a cup of sour plum soup in the dog days of summer. His whole body felt refreshed. For the first time, he felt that his disciple there's something, well, cute about it. Yu Canghai, who was under the boat, shut himself up for almost half a minute. He didn't see him speaking, so he just stopped to catch his breath. When he was close enough to the ship, he took the lead and rushed onto the ship with his sword. The target is not to attack Yu Buchuan, but to Ling Hu Chong. Dear me, if you call you a bitch, Grandpa will chop you alive today. Seeing that Chong'er could attract hatred at critical moments, Yu Buchuan suddenly felt even more satisfied. However, he was not slow in his movements, and with one move, Yuan came out of Xiao and inserted directly between the two of them. His father-in-law is also angry. On the big boat, when the two factions of disciples started to fight, behind the willow tree on the shore, a man from Saibei with scrawls all over his body was silently paying attention to the developments. He had estimated that with the help of a small boat on the river, he could quickly rush to the big boat. Now we just have to wait for the evil sword manual to appear. If Yu Buchuan and Yu Canghai were here, they would recognize that this person is the famous Tomu Peak in the north of Saibei. At the same time, a team of nearly 30 people appeared quietly on the other side of the river. The leader took a look at the situation in the field and nodded with satisfaction, as Wang Baihu said in the information, "Cover your face now, and follow me into the field later when you see the right time. Remember, from now on we are the Songzhan sect. Disciple, you must not talk back when you are scolded, but you must show your anger, do you understand?" Clear. Behind him, the Geniwei, all with their faces covered and dressed in yellow shirts from the Songzhan school, responded. As soon as the voice fell, a sudden change occurred in the scene. Two Qingqing sect disciples suddenly rushed out of the cabin holding red cassocks. Head. I am 13. Yu Canghai immediately retorted. When he saw the sword cassock, his tone immediately changed. Let's go. Where to go? Yu Buchuan immediately counterattacked. At the same time, on the shore, after seeing the cassock, Mu Gaofeng's eyes flashed, and he exerted force on his feet. He was about to rush out in the next second, but suddenly he heard a group of people from the other side shouting and rushing towards the big ship. The scene suddenly became more chaotic. Mu Gaofeng forced himself to stop and looked at the person with a frown. Songzhan sect. You actually want to get involved? Do you really think that Huashan is easy to bully? Yu Buchuan's angry voice spread across the river. At this time, in the houses on the shore, all the Songzhan disciples who heard the roar looked at each other. What's going on? At this time, they were all dressed up as disciples of the demon cult. Just as they were about to enter the venue, they heard someone pretending to be them.